Hello guys! The game you are seeing was made in 48 hours for a game jam I recently participated in. The jam was called Collab Jam 1, and it was hosted by a fellow content creator, Mickey. In total, there are 21 submissions from many other game devs and content creators from the community. The jam was hosted from July 1st to the 2nd, which was perfect for me because July 1st was a holiday, so I had the day off work. Okay, let's get into my 48-hour experience, the making of Flip. The jam started at 2 a.m. for me, so I got up bright and early at 5 a.m. Yeah, that's not true. Make that 7:30, maybe 8 a.m.? I got up at 8 a.m. and looked at the theme, which was the unexpected. Now that I knew the theme, it was on to idea gathering. I spent about an hour thinking of ideas that would work with the theme. I always struggle with this part, but after a while I came up with a rough idea of what I wanted. The idea was to make a level-based speedrunner game, but there would be an unexpected mechanic. This unexpected mechanic was that instead of falling infinitely, gravity would unexpectedly flip, and you would start falling in the opposite direction instead. I would be able to make the levels leverage this mechanic by having parts of it upside down. After I had the general idea down, I started prototyping this mechanic. By around 10 a.m., I had already gotten the flipping mechanic in a working state, and I also got the third-person movement for my player started. I have created a player movement system with animations before, so it didn't take too long to create it again for this game. While I was testing, I just used the player model from my multiplayer game. But the next thing I did was model a new player model in Blender, similar to the one from my multiplayer game, but this one had a more generic human figure. I used Mixamo to generate the animations, as I'm not very good at character animation myself. At this stage, it was around noon, and I had completed the player movement and animation. Over the next few hours, I started work on the art style for the first level. I went low poly because that's the style I like. I decided to have a floating island theme for the first level. I modeled these islands along with some trees and rocks to place on them. At this point, I realized that the flipping mechanic had a slight flaw. You could just fly infinitely because gravity would always reverse, so you could just fly to the end of the level. So I came up with a simple solution. If the player hasn't touched the ground after a certain amount of time, the flipping would stop and you would fall into the abyss. I added a bar to the bottom of the screen that represents how much time was left until you stop flipping. Now, the mechanic was complete. It was about 4 p.m. and I had implemented checkpoints. This way you could respawn at these checkpoints instead of at the beginning of the level every time. At this point, I spent a while making the first level. The next thing I needed was the end of the level, so I modeled this portal and added some particles to it for the end of the level. Now you could reach the end of the level, but there was no way of knowing how fast you made it. I added a timer to the top of the screen, made an end of level screen that pops up when you enter the portal, and it displays your time and lets you go to the next level. It was getting late, but I added some wind sound effects, which I'm very proud of because the pitch of the wind effect changes depending on the player's velocity. This really gives a sense of speed and makes the flipping mechanic feel even better. At this point, it was around 11 p.m. and I actually had to work the next day, so it was time for me to get some rest. Fast forward to the next evening after work around 6 p.m., I continued working on my game. The next thing I did was create a second level. I don't know what I was thinking when I created this level, but I had this weird floating pillar theme going. The idea behind this level was to make it harder and very unpredictable where you needed to go, and I think I accomplished that. Around 3 hours later, I had a second level and a credits level. It was now 5 hours from the deadline, so it was time to add the finishing touches. I added some text to the beginning of the first level as a beginner tutorial, I added footstep sounds to the player, and I playtested and fixed any bugs or issues that I found. At this point, I exported the game, took some screenshots, created some icons, made an itch page, and clicked the submit button. Game jam done. It's midnight and time to get some sleep. That was my 48-hour game jam experience and the making of Flip. I'm very proud of the game I made, especially considering I couldn't really work on it for most of the second day. I hope you check out the game and also check out the other submissions because there were some pretty cool other games as well. As always, links will be below the like button. Leave a comment on the itch page with your fastest run times. Oh, and one more thing, we reached 500 subscribers. Thanks so much for watching my videos. I hope to keep making content that you enjoy watching. Until next time, Thanks for watching.